Welcome to another episode of War Hero to Superhero, helping military, veterans, and first responders transform their lives from the prayer room to the boardroom. I am your host, a little glitchy, Daniel Faust. We are in the Superhero Battle Room with Frank, which is the CEO of Mill Treats. I'm going to try not to pronounce his last name because I'm probably going to hack it. He's going to correct it for me. He is a military man that has served his country, not her, and is now serving our community by providing morale and more through food and more. So he's going to come on the stage and share his inspiring story. Hey, Frank, do I have you?
You got me.
Yes, Frank. What is your last name? I could not pronounce it for the life of me, and I didn't want to hack it for 17 minutes.
Just
So,
give it a try. See if you get it.
all right, we're going to try Manteau.
Nope. Manteau.
Manteau. See, I knew I was going to hack it. I'm like,
It's all good.
it's kind of like my tagline. Yours is your branded clothes and your food, and mine is like, I'm probably going to hack your name the first time I meet you. So,
It's all good.
all right, so let's get into your story because my skills are not important. It's about you. So, first off, is what inspired you to join the military?
Well, for me, it was simple. It was living in a small town in the backwoods of Ohio. Population was 951 people, and a lot of the jobs were going downhill because there was a lot of the coal mines and steel mills and other things like that. And it was just not a very good, good place for somebody coming out of school to get a job that did not want to go to college. And at a young age, I've always had the willingness to serve my community, serve those around me, and I wanted to be able to go in and serve my country.
951. Man, I came from a town that's small geographically, 1.5 square miles, but population was 30K. 951. So that means you must have known every single person there, right?
Yep.
Wow. So from 951 to joining into the military of millions. Whew, that is crazy. So how long did you serve and when did you leave?
I served 7.5 years. I went in and literally graduated high school June 1st of 1995. June 5th, I was at MEPS. June 6th, I was on a plane. June 7th, I was in the Beatle Footprints of Parris Island, South Carolina. And then I got out December 7th of 2002.
Wow. So you literally man, that's like real quick. Whew. 7 quick years. So 7 years in service, it could have been a blip or it could have been a really long time in that particular guard. What made you transition to make that transformation? Because you have now gone over and serving in multiple modalities, including 3D printing in the background. So what made you transition to make that transformation?
So for me, I had no choice but to get out. 9/11 had just occurred and we were getting ready to deploy to Afghanistan. And over the years of the training and deployment stuff, I got my body messed up and literally was on a 7-mile hump getting ready to prepare to deploy. And I collapsed. I was paralyzed from the waist down for 8.5 hours. Found out that I had 2 pinched nerve, both hip displacement and a radial tear and other, things going on. And they gave me an option of either they put me on medically or I get out honorably and not deploy. And I tried to fight it and there was no fighting it. So I chose to go ahead and get out at the 7.5 year mark, taking early 6 months out.
Wow. That is like huge in that particular regard. So were you actually still paralyzed when you actually left?
No, it was only for an 8.5 hour stint. It was literally, everything was just jammed up, pinched nerve, everything was messed up. And they were able to get me on meds that released some of the tension and stuff that was able to get me moving. But I was a liability. So they had to either push me out or I had to get out.
So did you get med boarded or did you just separate then?
Took separation of an honorable discharge.
Oh wow. That is crazy. So after those 7 years and everything else, you just went back home and then what made you make that change to pivot your current community? Because you could have been really hurt and really jaded by the military just by just saying like, hey, I got hurt, I got to get out.
Well, I felt abandoned by the military. I literally got out, uh, had a bad marriage, was on the verge of getting a divorce shortly after I got out of the military. Moved back to Ohio, where I was from, and started going into the corporate world. Went into private investigation, armed security, um, worked at various other automotive places and stuff like that. And I walked away from the military for 13 years. Literally had nothing to do with the military whatsoever. Single dad, got full custody of my kids, and it was about taking care of my kids and everything. It wasn't until I decided to give my kids a different chance and a better life, was moving from Ohio and doing one of the stupidest things anybody can do, is leaving Ohio with a one-way ticket, $4,000 in my name, no job, no vehicle, didn't know anybody, and I landed in San Diego, California in February of 2013 and hit the ground running back to try to get employment, and ended up, after I got situated, got things taken care of, started working, got a place of our own. I started, my kids were older, and I started my own woodworking business at that time. And that's whenever I got back into the military community. So, and
Yeah, you have a lot to unpack in those 13 years. That's amazing that you just went over and did that, because California, that's just hard for me mentally, because I lived in Ohio and I know what the cost is in Ohio, and I live in Delaware and everything else. And you ran with it's kind of like going over and like running from like New Mexico to Canada, taking the peso and trying to stretch it on the Canadian dollar. And it's like that much of a loss. So that's like amazing. So you got involved in our community in 2015, and then what happened? Because how did the crayons ready to eat and all that stuff happen?
so I got back into the community, and I was only on social media just to keep an eye on my kids. And 2016, I started getting the woodworking going really well. Started making different, a lot of products, turned into a decent amount of business locally. And it was there that I started seeing on social media in some of the military communities that I was in, that they started calling us Marines crayon eaters. Now, I was not called a crayon eater while I was in. I never heard the joke until at that time. And then I decided to just like, okay, whatever, it's happening, there's just a joke going on. And literally, I was making the props for the high school marching band halftime shows. And I ended up getting asked by the high school color guard to make a prop. And they came to me in the middle, right after the beginning of the year, the 2017, and asked me to build in this giant picture frame that was nice and colorful and bright that they could jump in and out of. Well, one of the things that I didn't mention before is I threw away a 4-year ride scholarship to Pittsburgh Art Institute to continue joining the Marine Corps. So I had a nice knowledge of art and, color, palettes and the primary colors and all kinds of different things. And I knew that by putting this piece together, that it was going to be easy enough to blow up a image of a frame, glue it to a piece of plywood, cut it out, and then color it in with some kind of coloring utensil. And white um, water paints we're not going to do. Regular paints we're not going to do, because they were going to show the glue that was going to come through. Markers were not going to blend in if they ran out. And the only thing that was going to work, that was going to color over everything and blend in the same colors, were crayons. And in that mix of it, I literally put a crayon in my mouth and to hold on to it while I was changing colors. And I started gnawing on the damn thing. And that's when it hit me. I was like, maybe there's some nonsense to this crayon eater thing. And I started thinking and thinking, and the creative guy that I am, that I, got to be creating things, making things, and the artistic side of me was like, is there truly an edible crayon? Went down the rabbit hole, didn't find anything, didn't see anything. And it hit me that whenever I worked at O'Reilly Auto Parts out there in San Diego and in Lakeside, California, whenever I took over as store manager and the outgoing store manager was leaving, that there was this team member that brought in these homemade peanut butter truffles. They were better than any Reese cup ever made. And if I was to eat any ever again, it would be what she was going to make. And I had that in my mental Rolodex, that she had the skills. She also went to school to, a couple semesters to be a pastry chef. And after I quit O'Reilly's, I still had some of those people's numbers, and I had her number directly, because she was a manager there. And I reached out to her and I was like, hey, have you ever made chocolate color? And she started explaining this whole process. And I was like, no, I don't want it to look like it's colored. I want it to actually write. And that was in August of 2017. And then on September 12th of 2017, She sends me a video of the first CRE making the world's first colorable chocolate crayon. And we went that avenue. We originally started the company out as Crayons Ready to Eat, played a spinoff of the Meals Ready to Eat, and we nicknamed each color after each branch of service. And we wanted to make sure they were different. We wanted to make sure that they were identifiable, that they couldn't be deciphered from higher rank in the military to the lower rank in the military to keep the jokes going, as well as parents can decipher to their kids. Our design was safe to eat, don't eat the round ones. And it just ended up taking off from there, that we were able to get on social media in 2018, went public. A lot of people heard about us, got it situated. We, in 2019, end of 2018, we almost got fined $10,000 by the San Diego Health Department because we're in violation of 14 different codes between city, state, and federal that we were not complying to. Luckily, we got a warning, and they gave us assistance on getting our cottage food permit so we could sell locally in San Diego. And in March of 2019, we were able to get our cottage food permit so we could sell locally. And then in 2020, we all know what happened there. And that's when we realized that we didn't want to go any. We still knew we had something to do, and we had a better opportunity to get this out to people. We just needed to figure out how. So we decided to figure out the way to go to national shipping and find a manufacturing facility, figure out the avenues we needed to do to learn the business and everything, and ended up through the graces of crowdfunding through a platform called Fund the First. We were able to raise $15,000. We netted about $13,000 from that. At that time, I was working as a service writer and a parts manager at a heavy equipment repair facility called San Diego Heavy Truck and Equipment Repair. Got to know the owners really well. I got a better relationship when I worked there at a Raleigh Auto Parts selling parts, and they became like family. And they gave us a $10,000 investment into the company, and we were still a little bit shy on some funding. And we had gotten connected with Jason Van Camp from Warrior Rising. He reached out to me and offered me to, go into the program. I did. It was the best choice that I did, because they're the reason we did not become a statistic of COVID. Ended up learning all the aspects that I needed to learn how to operate a business, because I had no fucking clue. And they were able to take what we learned in the military and how to apply it to our business, from the understanding in simple form of military knowledge, and through their Warrior Academy. And then I was selected to go to a business shower, which then I got a chance to pitch my business, and I lost. I didn't get first place, but I was able to get second place. Lost to a guy that created an e-learning platform for the blind. I created chocolate crayons. You can't compete with that. But they gave us a $10,000 grant, and that gave us the last money we needed to go manufacture nationwide and everything.
That is amazing. So you took it's a lot of money when you think about it, an entrepreneur, but you took so little and you're able to go nationwide with that. So now you've gone from Crayons Ready to Eat to Mill Treats. So that's really cool. So all these things that you went through, military, and then divorce, get separated, move, and then take your life and go from basically East Coast to West Coast and doing entrepreneurial stuff while doing the business and everything else. That's just a lot of pressure. That's a lot of tough times. What was your secret fuel for keep going? Because a lot of us could just hear your story and be like, you could have became part of the statistics that we hear every day. So what was the secret fuel that kept you going?
So there's a couple factors that came into play in that one. One, it was ultimately because I gave my kids an opportunity to change their stars. My childhood wasn't the greatest childhood in the world, and I have distanced myself from my family, and I didn't want my children to be involved in that. So I wanted to make sure I set the legacy for them and my grandchildren, for them to be able to go on the right path to be able to do better and not fall into the statistics of the family curse. On top of that, is whenever we decided to shift from Crayons Ready to Eat, when we learned that we were just a seasonal company, because we can only sell chocolates because we were a high quality chocolate company, that we could only ship during certain times of the year. And we realized that there was much more that we could do. We could tell the stories, the jokes, the history behind every item we bring to market. And that's when it hit me that we can tell the joke of the Marine being called crayon eaters. We nicknamed each color after all 6 branches of service. And it was like, okay, I had a connection with a coffee roaster out of Seguin, Texas. A lot of people, you may know him, may not know him, Jose, with Third Day Coffee Seguin. And he was able to white label us coffee. And what I did with that was allowed us to tell the story in the history of why coffee is a part of the military all the way back to Civil War times. And that's when we realized that now we can be called mill treats, that we can provide an educational vessel and a camaraderie through humor and tangible products to be able to educate military and non-military.
That's really, really awesome. So your secret fuel for keeping going is your family, and that is the legacy that you go over and carry. So that is amazing, and I love that. Recently I heard that you're becoming a grandfather. Is that what I read on Facebook?
Yep, I in April I will become a grandfather. So that's a great blessing, and just to be able to carry those things on and to be able to provide a business that eventually can be able to, hopefully, I can pass along into whether they're working some way in the business or on, in that aspect and teaching those skills. But it also doesn't stop there. It stops with being able to give back to the community as well. And that's why I'm an advocate of Warrior Rising. And I started, currently I'm in Las Vegas, and I was able to be um, asked and accepted to come on as the platoon leader for the Warrior Rising to launch local in-person platoons to help the local communities out. And then I just recently became going to be on the board of advisors for Warrior Rising. And if you don't know what Warrior Rising is, we can go in that at a later time, or a little deeper if you'd like.
Yeah, we would love to go hear about that. And because I've only heard briefly about it myself, especially going to the Military Influence Conference, and the goal here is to uplift veteran brands. So let's go talk about it.
So, Warrior Rising is a nonprofit organization that provides training, education, coaching, and mentorship to veterans, their spouses, and their immediate children, 100% free. So, like I said, I went through the Warrior Academy, and through there, you go through a 40-module program that takes what we learned in military and how to apply it to your business. And it breaks it down in simplest form and easy to understand processes. There's a lot of time in business that people say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, and we get stuck down the Google rabbit hole. But one thing that set them apart of things is whenever I got an opportunity to get selected for their business shower was the mentorship, actually being assigned a mentor to sit there and help and ask questions and walk you through certain things, and the network of people that you can just pick up the phone and call or email and say, hey, I need this, or I'm stuck here. And the knowledge is just unbelievable. It is truly a tribe. Over the years, they just recently introduced their Warrior University, which is an 8-week, basically a business 101 type course. And it's all free. Once you get into the Warrior Academy, you get onto their monthly coaching calls, which happens usually the first week of the month. And then you get onto their monthly master classes, all online, 100% free. But you got to sign up for the Warrior Academy first. And then once you go through the Warrior University, then you can apply your pitch, apply to be a part of the business shower, submit your pitch deck, and then you may get selected to get to a business shower to where you can get a grant and be able to help fund your business. And one of the best things is, like I said, is the network, and it's a matter of how they uplift you and they help you get connected with individuals and just the knowledge base. So for them to be able to want to launch out into new platoons and knowing what the entrepreneurial ecosystem here is in Las Vegas with a lot of the veterans, it was only a no-brainer that I took the charge and was able to help bring it and start and bring it here into Las Vegas, to where we could do in-person events, to handle in-person subject matter experts on a lot of the business situations, find local entrepreneurs in the area that can be able to help these business owners grow. And then later on, once we can get enough funding from the local community to be able to have a business shower here, this way the money comes in from the Nevada area, goes back into the Nevada veteran entrepreneurs, their spouses, or immediate children, and then they can put it back into their communities. And just being able to have those resources is priceless for somebody that's in business, because a lot of things that people don't understand is, and it's true, is we say it all the time, your network is your net worth. And if you're not networking, you're not working. But you also got to have the willingness to learn and listen.
I would say that's key. I've been listening the entire time and might be looking to that program myself because I'm getting out in 283 days. So very much interested in that. So we'll get that on the off channel on that. So our last question for you before we close out is 3 superhero tactics. Again, you've gone through a lot of trials and you're making them testimonies each and every day. So if you had to either talk to your past self or the people that you're coaching in Warrior Rising, what would you give them as like 3 tactics that they go from a surviving mindset to a thriving mindset?
One simple is shut up and listen, because sometimes we think we know what we're doing, but we have no clue. And you have to be willing to listen to get another avenue, because there's more than one side to the story and more than one way to skin a cat. So you have to just listen, and you also have to be having the eagerness to learn. Never stop learning. For the many years I stopped reading, I stopped getting into any kind of educational, and I was just figuring as I go along. The moment that I started getting back into reading books, listening to audiobooks, was a massive game changer. You have to constantly be learning, because otherwise you're going to be left in the dark and you're not going to have a clue what's going on. You'll be sitting here wondering, beating your head off the wall. Why am I not doing anything? Why is it not going where I want it to go? Get involved into a local community, local tribe. Find a master class within your niche, within the industry that you're in. Get into a great group of network. And then ultimately, the other biggest thing is just do it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fail, because fail means first attempt in learning, in my opinion. And if somebody tells you no, it's a no at that point. No means next opportunity. There's another opportunity. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times to create the light bulb, and they finally created it. He learned 1,000 different ways of not to do it. And that's the same way you need to be able to take and look at things, is just be able to go out there, be willingness to fail, and don't fear, because fear is going to be your killer.
Those are great things to go over and to remember. I love that first attempt in life, our first attempt in learning, because we all sometimes take longer. Not everybody's the idiot savant. So we need to be going out there. So Frank, I want to thank you for going over and joining on the show, sharing the mill treats. I still have not tried a crayon. I do got to go over and keep that promise to you. I'm like, I got to go order some. So if you want to share where we can get those and anything else on the last little bit, and then we're going to close up the show. And thank you for being one of our guests.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to be able to support us, just go to miltreats.com. That's miltreats.com. You can find us on all social media platforms at miltreats. We are on TikTok at Crayons Ready to Eat. We're trying to get that shifted over to be at miltreats. And you can find all of our products on there. We have, like I said, our world's first cuttable chocolate crayons, our cup of shut the fuck up coffee. We have our 40 millimeter grenade salt and pepper shakers. We have our yellow footprint keychains, and everything we do, we tell you the story and the history behind each item we bring to market. And anyway, if you want to get connected with Warrior Rising, you go to warriorrising.org and get on there and apply. And if you're in the Las Vegas area and you want to be able to reach out and get a part of the local platoon we're going into, just reach out to me. You can find me personally on my own website at frankmanteau.com. And that's FrankManT as in Tango, EAU.com. And all the links are on there as well.